The Sacramento Kings get destroyed by the Denver Nuggets, yada, yada, yada. Is anyone else curious about what's going on with Dennis Schroder? He's been day-to-day for the last few weeks now, and we're just days away from that December 15th date where he'll be eligible for a trade. Coincidence or more? Let's talk about it right here on Locked On Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all season long. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off of your first purchase. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports anchor and reporter from ABC 10 News, broadcasting tonight from the Golden One Center where the Sacramento Kings got destroyed by the Denver Nuggets 136-105, and we'll get to that. We'll talk about tonight's game, Kings rookies Maxime Reynaud and Nick Clifford starting in this game. We'll talk about Keon Ellis. We'll talk about Keegan Murray. There's plenty to get to in regards to tonight's game, so I'm not just ignoring it. But I thought the most interesting thing to talk about tonight is this continued absence of Dennis Schroder. He has been listed as essentially like questionable day-to-day, and today was doubtful, and then became about an hour or so before game time was declared out with a hip injury. Now, what we're going to talk about over the next few minutes is pure speculation. Pure speculation on my point. I want to make sure that's abundantly clear. I'm not reporting anything, not saying that there is something else going on. I'm just like when it's very rare, or I can't really remember a time where a player has been day-to-day for this long. Now, I have no clue if this is really a hip injury or not for Dennis Schroder. And I personally don't feel comfortable speculating on whether or not the injury is real or how serious the injury is. I'm not a doctor. I'm not amongst that training staff. So I'm not necessarily going to speculate about that point. But what I think is maybe fair to speculate about, or what I'm curious about, is you've heard this date probably come up, whether it's listening to Locked On Kings over the last however long, or listening to other local shows, or reading articles in Sacramento over the last couple weeks. December 15th. December 15th is the unofficial open of trade season, because on December 15th, most players who signed contracts this past offseason are eligible to be traded. I say most players because in the case of like Jonathan Kuminga, for example, Kuminga is not able to be traded until January 15th. But right about that time where essentially your entire roster is freed up for trades, that's where you start to see trade talks and trade action really begin and start picking up. That doesn't mean that bang, like the trade deadline day on December 15th, we're going to have a boatload of deals. But I do wonder if the Kings are in no rush to bring Dennis Schroder back because they want to make sure that they keep him as healthy as possible or as ready as possible to be moved. Maybe he does have this hip injury, and the Kings want to make sure that he does not make it worse, that he is dealing with some discomfort. He could probably play through it if you were playing for a good team that needed him, a team that was not 6-19 like the Kings are tonight. But the Kings are choosing, hey, it's not worth it to run him out there. It's just heightening the injury risk, and we potentially have some ideas or maybe some deals on the table or some potential deals out there that would include Dennis Schroder. We're looking to move Dennis Schroder, and if he hurts himself severely, that limits, if not completely kills, our opportunities to trade him. Again, I'm not pure speculation on my point. It's just really curious that you see a player miss this much time but consistently be listed as day-to-day. On the other hand, it could simply be, hey, it's an injury that's not super severe, but he's battling discomfort, and we're waiting to make sure that he's right and he's good to go and he's not feeling that discomfort anymore before he gets back, just because that's the right thing to do. And on top of that, he plays at a position where, well, he's a guard on a roster that is very guard heavy, and the Kings can afford for him not to be out there right now because it frees up more minutes for other younger guards to get some playing time. It could very much be that. It could be it. Or the Kings could be trying to do what they can to protect an asset that they feel that they can move as soon as he is eligible to be moved on December 15th in a couple of days. I feel like the Kings moving him, moving Malik Monk, and moving DeMar DeRozan, those are the three most likely players to be moved on this Sacramento Kings roster by the trade deadline. I'm not saying that all three of them will be moved. In fact, I would say, honestly, if the Kings and Scott Perry are able to move the three of them, the return that they get, of course, does matter. So we can't fully judge a move when we don't know what they're getting back. But I do think there would be in my mind, I feel like that would be a success in some ways. Again, it depends on the return. You don't want the Kings to get completely fleeced for all three of those players. And I'm not saying just throw them out like they're garbage, because all three of them can be impactful players. But that's when it comes to like value, I do believe the Kings can get good value for those three players. I think they could also get good value for Keegan Murray, of course, but they don't really want to trade him unless they're getting an offer that they simply cannot refuse. But if the Kings were able to move all three of those guys and loosen that logjam a little bit and completely open up the floodgates to minutes for Nick Clifford and Keon Ellis and maybe even Devin Carter, who finally got some run tonight for the Sacramento Kings, that would be, I think, a successful first start or first step towards really, truly diving in to this rebuild. I just don't see, and we'll dive into this more as the trade deadline gets closer, I still don't buy into any of the belief that the Kings will be able to move on from either Domantas Sabonis or Zach LaVine. I don't see it happening with how big their contracts are and how difficult it is around the league to move a contract like that, especially with the apron system. I just don't see that happening as of right now. But Malik, DeRozan, Schroder being moved, I would even say it's a likelihood that two of those three at the least are gone. All right, let's talk about tonight's game. Kings lose to the Nuggets, 136-105. Nick Clifford and Maxime Reynaud both getting the opportunity to start. I like that move by Doug Christie, but if we're being honest, the rookie struggled. Now, Maxime Reynaud played way better, and I mean way better than Nick Clifford did. So we'll start with Max. Max finished with 15 points, 7 of 13 from the field, 9 rebounds, 1 steal. He played 37 minutes. Love it. And a lot of those minutes, guess who he lined up with? Freaking multi-time MVP, maybe on his way to another MVP this season, Nikola Jokic, the Joker, who dominated in this game. No surprise there. I'm not judging Maxime Reynaud based off of anything that Nikola Jokic did. If anything, good. You got to go against it. You got to see what that greatness is like, and hopefully you learned a thing or two about how having to deal with it. But I do like that Max was aggressive at a couple times. Like his first bucket that he hit, he got the ball, I think it was a pick and roll, got the ball from Russell Westbrook, of course, and had a quick spin on Jokic towards the basket. Nice little side hook. That was his first bucket he hit in the first quarter. He was aggressive. He had good two-man game moments with Russell Westbrook and a few of the other guards as the game went on. Maxime Reynaud got a lot of burn in this game, got a lot of opportunity, got beaten up at times, had good moments at other times, was aggressive. Again, his 15 points is really, really solid. Had a double-double like 2 different occasions, and then the scorers took it away from him because I guess they gave him a rebound that he wasn't supposed to get. That happened twice. So, poor guy, we thought he had a double-double, didn't get it. It's not that big of a deal. I'm glad Maxime Reynaud got a lot of playing time. Struggled, but he's supposed to against Nikola freaking Jokic. Nick Clifford, though, there's just no way to put it, and it doesn't mean I'm hating on the guy or anything like that. It's just we're just being blunt and being honest. Nick Clifford was awful in this game. He was awful, completely outmatched. He looked terrible, and do I have a problem with it? No. Would I have liked it to be better? Of course. 2 points, 1 of 8 from the field, 0 of 6 from three-point range, 4 turnovers. He was a minus 29 in 28 minutes. He was really bad. Really, really bad. But he was out there, and I'm glad he was out there. Good. Struggle. Fail. Get your butt kicked. Doug Christie, after the game, talked about both Max and Neek got the experience at different times of having to guard the Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic pick and roll. And they had to, you talk about trial by fire. It's one of the best pick and roll duos in the league, and they had to work together. These two rookies had to work together to try and guard that. More often than not, if not the entire time, it did not go well for them. Cool. I will say the way this game got off to, the start that it got off to, the Kings and Nuggets were tied 13-13. Technically, the Kings were up 13-11, but the Nuggets were at the foul line when Max and Neek both checked out of the game at the same time. Doug pulled him out. Drew Eubanks went in. Drew only played a handful of minutes before hurting his thumb in this game. And then I think Keon Ellis also went into the game. And from that point on, the Nuggets went on like a 16-4 run or something like that to build a double-digit lead and score 41 points at the end of that first quarter. I'm not going to go as far as to say, see, as soon as you took the rookies out, the Kings were terrible. The Kings fell apart. The rookies are that impactful. I'm not saying anything like that. But the Kings did get off to a good start when those two were out there, and the game kind of flipped and changed when they were off the floor. But that being said, when they were on the floor, Max did some good things. Neek didn't. Neek didn't do good really at all. And I think he'd admit that. He knows that. That's fine. These are part of the growing pains. I want to see him go through it. This is what we asked for, so we can't freak out about it. Hopefully he starts to hit some of those shots. Hopefully he's not going 0 of 6 from three-point range for the rest of his rookie season, and I don't think he will. He's shown to have great games and good moments already before that. He'll get back to it tonight. Was a rough night for him, but these are the things that he needs to go through. Want to talk about Keegan Murray. Want to talk about Devin Carter. I want to talk about Keon Ellis. That's all still coming here on Locked On Kings. Like I said at the top of the show, this episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is brought to you by Game Time. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets, that's usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open up, and buy tickets the moment that they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. You pull up the app and the layout makes it super simple to scroll through matchups and compare seat views. You pick a game, tap a section, and have your tickets locked within minutes. No confusion, no hunting for fine print. The prices that you see, those include the fees up front, which I love, so you know exactly what you're paying from the very beginning. No last-second surprises at checkout, and it alerts you for teams and matches, and making it easy to grab tickets for specifically the moments that you are looking for. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets in every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, Game Time. Locked On Kings is also brought to you by Quo. New year, new systems, and this is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of running a business and think there has to be a better way, and there is. This episode is brought to you by Quo, again spelled Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. If you're ready to make your workday smoother and keep customers connected without the headaches, Quo makes upgrading your setup easier than ever. It's a streamlined system that makes such a big difference when communicating with customers. Having calls, texts, and voicemails in one clear view keeps everything organized and helps you stay responsive. Being able to share one team number makes it so much easier to make sure nothing gets missed. The AI summaries and call logging can feel like having an assistant keeping track of every detail, and it's so surprisingly easy. You can work from your phone or computer, keep your existing number, and add teammates in minutes. Making this the year with where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off of your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. Quo, no missed calls and no missed customers. When you look at Keegan Murray's stat line, it's not bad. 15 points, 7 of 13 from the field, so over 50% from the field. 1 of 5 from three-point range, 6 rebounds in 28 minutes. Not a bad stat line. But at this point, we need better than not bad from Keegan Murray. That's the reality of the situation. Zach LaVine didn't play tonight. It was very, very clear from the jump the Sacramento Kings were trying to get Keegan the ball, trying to get him going offensively. Again, not a bad stat line, nothing to like freak out about. But when we're talking about Keegan and changing the conversation around Keegan from being an important like role-playing starter to the guy or one of the guys, a feature of this Sacramento Kings offense, him getting that opportunity to show that he has that in his game, that can be who he is for the Sacramento Kings as they look to the future and start this rebuild. Yeah, 15 points, I mean, that ain't enough. I'm glad he took 2 more shots in this game that he's shot over the last 3 games. He's taken 11 attempts in the last 3 games, 11 each game. Tonight had 13. That's good. 1 of 5 from three-point range. Like, his shooting percentage from 3 is now down in the mid-20s, guys. And I'm wondering if Keegan, this is a very negative take for someone like me who's such a fan of Keegan Murray's and has been such a believer of Keegan Murray from the beginning. I wonder if Keegan might have fooled us with how good of a shooter he was his rookie season. Now, I do believe, at the time, remember, he broke the record for threes made by a rookie. He did that actually on the same night that the Kings clinched the playoffs in Portland. That's a high bar that he set for himself, and shooting 41%, flirting with 42% for the year from three-point range, right? That's like, you talk about starting your career with a bang. Those were always going to be hard numbers to live up to and to have consistently, especially with a higher volume of threes and a higher volume of opportunity offensively like he's getting now. But, the decline has been steady year after year after year. And at some point, really it's not at some point, at this point, we can look at the stats and the numbers will show us what the anomaly is. The anomaly was that season. The anomaly was his rookie shooting numbers. Now, I do believe that the environment and the circumstance, the way the Sacramento Kings played, how they used Keegan Murray, the shots that he was getting, all of that does, of course, play a factor into his shooting percentage. Of course it does. I don't think it's coincidence that Keegan Murray played his best basketball when the Sacramento Kings offensively played their best basketball. But at some point, again, we can't keep making excuses. We can't keep saying, well, it's this or it's that, or it has something to do with someone else, or it's this circumstance or it's that circumstance. At some point, Keegan has to start knocking down those shots consistently. Or if that's not his game, if he truly is not as good of a three-point shooter as we thought that he had the potential to be, then he has to be really, really good offensively in other areas. And he's just not yet. He's just not comfortable enough putting the ball on the floor. He's doing a better job looking to attack the rim more, be more aggressive attacking the basket. And we've seen improvement in those areas. But the improvement in those areas does not offset the drop-off in his three-point production. If he can get that back up, we know how dangerous of a player that he can be. But at some point, those shots got to start falling, and it's been a while since we've seen that shot fall consistently. It's really been years since we've seen that shot fall consistently. After the game, I asked Doug Christie about Keegan and about his shooting and him hunting for shots specifically. And as you're going to hear here, Doug is not making excuses for Keegan necessarily, but Doug made sure to emphasize the pain that Keegan Murray is playing through, and of course that does have an impact on how he's shooting. Doug, going back to training camp, one of the things you talked about with Keegan was hunting shots.
Yeah.
Of course, he got hurt and missed the first part of the season. What have you seen just with the progress in that sense of him hunting and taking the right kind of shots?
Yeah, listen, Keegan is a warrior, man. He's working through stuff, so I'm not worried about him being there before and just, you're fighting through it. And I respect that part of it. As far as the hunting and all that, we saw him play some really good basketball, and then all of a sudden he's dinged up again and he's trying to work through it. So, great kid, incredible basketball player. He'll be fine. We just need some good luck for him to kind of find his way out there. But he defends the best guy. He switches off. He takes any challenge that you throw in front of him. So we talking about shots. I ain't worried about shots. The kid makes shots. He makes shots with a splint on and tape on his neck. So love him to death.
Devin Carter and Doug McDermott both played in tonight's game for the first time since November 12th. The last time both of them played was when the Kings got destroyed by the Atlanta Hawks in this building. So not great that these guys are only really playing when the Kings are getting absolutely manhandled. Doug McDermott had a cup of tea. Played a little bit, missed a three, fouled a three-point shooter, got subbed out, never came back into the game. Devin Carter checked in the second half and played pretty much the remainder of the game. Devin Carter, 15 points, 5 of 10 from the field, 3 of 6 from three-point range, 4 assists in 21 minutes. Again, all of those, 21 out of the 24 minutes he played in that second half. I'm not going to lie to you, like there's things about Devin Carter that I don't like. I certainly don't really believe in Devin Carter as a prospect or the right kind of player for this Kings team, and all the circumstances, much of which is not his fault. I'm just not the biggest believer in Devin Carter, and I don't say that or mean to say that in any kind of harsh way, but that's just I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it, right? But I want to give Devin Carter some love on a couple of fronts. Number one, he played the last 2 nights in the G League. So this is his 3rd straight night playing basketball. That's not easy to do for anybody. That certainly takes wear and tear on your body. Now, you can roll your eyes at that and immediately go to the comment section and go, yeah, well, Matt, he hasn't played for a month before that. He's fine. He's young. He should be able to blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I get it. I'm just saying I give him credit for that, number one. Number two, I admire the F you and F it attitude that he kind of plays with, that he played with in Stockton over the last couple of games. He played with it tonight. He came into the game as like, I'm shooting. I'm putting it up. If it looks good, I'm shooting. I'm going to be aggressive. I'm looking to score. I don't know if I'm auditioning for any other team that might be looking out. I don't know if I'm playing to give a middle finger to Kings fans, to give a middle finger to Scott Perry or Doug Christie or anybody who doubts me in this city. And there are a lot of people that doubt him in this city. If that was his motivation, or if he was simply like, now is my time to shine, I'm going to make the most of it. I have no idea what Devin Carter's motivations are, but the way he played, it was fearless, it was aggressive. It's kind of how I want to see Nick Clifford playing, if we're being honest. Devin Carter showed up. He played hard. I will say, because I've seen some people talk about this, I do think Devin Carter has the potential to be a consistent NBA player. I don't think it's going to be here in Sacramento. And I also am, if I'm being, I'm not afraid of like a Davion Mitchell situation. I know some people have talked about this. Maybe even I've brought this up before. Like Davion Mitchell didn't really work here in Sacramento. He was much more important and involved with the Sacramento Kings when he was here than Devin Carter has been, of course. But Davion Mitchell left, spent some time in Toronto, played pretty well over there, got to the Heat. He's a perfect player for Heat culture, and he's been playing super well with the Miami Heat. He's been really, really good in Miami. And, of course, that has Kings fans going, not only did we trade this guy away, we basically gave him away for nothing. And that's true. The Kings did at the time. I'm not worried about that with Devin Carter necessarily. But if it happens, and if he has that motivation to leave Sacramento and be included in one of these trade deadline deals, because I think the Kings will try and attach his $5 million contract to a deal and send him out of here, I wish him the best of luck wherever he goes, and he should be motivated to try and say F you to the Sacramento Kings. That being said, the direction that the Kings are headed, I don't think they're really it's not going to bother them too much if he turns into something better than what he's been here in Sacramento. He honestly should. And at the same time, if I'm Devin Carter, I probably want to get out of here. I'll talk about that more when talking about Keon Ellis after the break. This episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is also brought to you by ZocDoc. Guys, it's 2025. It's almost 2026, and those days of waiting for something to become a full-blown emergency before you see a doctor, man, they're over. No more walking it off for 6 months. No more pretending that weird shoulder stiffness is just you sleeping wrong. It's time to take your health seriously, and ZocDoc makes that easier than ever. Because staying healthy is more than hitting the gym or eating right. It's about actually getting things checked out when something feels off. Using ZocDoc makes scheduling easier. Search for in-network doctors and book right in the app. Real appointment times are listed, including same day visits, no more back and forth phone calls or waiting for weeks to be seen. Super helpful for routine checkups and those little issues that you've been meaning to get checked out. And it lets you compare providers using real patient reviews, not just ads. So stop putting off your doctor's appointments and get the care that you need. Go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA and find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. I know I have a lot of Keon Ellis fans watching this podcast, so please don't come after me. Please don't get mad at me. Listen to what I'm saying here. I'm watching Keon Ellis play right now, and he doesn't look like himself at all. Could be he's just going through a funk. Could be. But he just doesn't look like himself. Tonight, 5 points, 2 of 7 from the field, 1 of 6 from three-point range, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. I'm just asking a question, and I'm not making an excuse for Keon, nor am I trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. It feels like, or is the environment of where this organization is at, the fall off over the years that Keon has been here from his rookie season to now, and how he is getting inconsistent playing time on a really bad basketball team. Is everything just getting to him? Because for the first few years that Keon was here, especially that first year, right? Like, he played in important games and had important minutes, don't get me wrong. Remember, he had that stretch where he was like undefeated as a starter for a while. His first start, if I'm not mistaken, was in a cup game here in Sacramento when the Kings beat the Oklahoma City Thunder without De'Aaron Fox. But for the most part, like, what we saw and what we could count on consistently from Keon Ellis when he played was the same kind of energy, that same kind of impact, just something that, like, fans obviously resonated with. And I don't know about y'all, I'm just not seeing or feeling that same way when I watch Keon Ellis play right now. And I do think, like, it's natural. It's natural as a human being. It's natural for anybody going through frustrations and tough times like I know Keon is going through, to not play your best, to not give your all, and to not be the same guy that you had to be when you were trying to break into the NBA. Now, at the same time, Keon Ellis is on a contract year. And I'm sure Keon Ellis is ticked off about how much he's not getting paid right now, and the Kings not giving him the contract extension that he felt he deserved earlier, and he's playing for $2 million this season, which is a steal for a talent like Keon. Again, I'm not saying that Keon is sandbagging. I'm not saying that Keon is intentionally not playing as hard as he can. I watch Keon Ellis play, and I know who Keon Ellis is. I've gotten to know who Keon Ellis is as a player and as a person off the floor his entire NBA career. He doesn't seem like himself. It seems like this entire situation is getting to everybody, himself included, of course. And I'm not seeing the same Keon Ellis on the floor with how he's playing. I'm not. And I wonder if Keon is one of many guys in this Kings locker room, Devin Carter included, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Malik Monk, you name it, that might be hoping they hear their name in trade talks. Normally, this time of year, between now and the trade deadline, but especially when the trade deadline gets closer and all the rumors are out there and guys go on social media and look up their names and can see the rumors about where they might end up and the feeling of a team not wanting you, a team shopping you, trying to get rid of you, blah, blah, blah. That can have an impact on a player. Even as many times as they say, I know it's a business, blah, blah, blah. Like, the human element, like that can be hard. For the Sacramento Kings, though, there might be some players looking to freaking escape this. And on the other side of that coin, there's might be a Sacramento Kings general manager in front office that's like, get them the heck out of here, because they don't fit. They don't want to be here. We don't want hostages. We want volunteers. That's what Scott Perry has said a number of times since taking this job. There's a lot of hostages, it feels like, in that locker room. And I wonder if Keon Ellis is one of them. Now, at the same time, with the drama and kind of the sagas that went on in Kings talk radio and sports talk radio here in Sacramento over the course of this week, Scott Perry did an interview with Whitey Gleason on Sacktown Sports 1140's afternoon show. And really good interview. And one of the things that Scott talked about was Keon Ellis' situation, and talked about, like, we love Keon here. We are fans of Keon here. So I've shared with you since the start of the season, since the off season, even before that I've gotten no indication other than the Sacramento Kings plan on having Keon Ellis around long term, and plan on handling Keon Ellis' contract situation when they are able to, when they are eligible to start to negotiate with him. And I believe that's right after the trade deadline in early to mid-February. I still do believe that's the plan, or at least that's what I have been told. But at this point, Keon Ellis may go, nah, I'd rather be out of here. Get me the heck out of here. Let me go play for a contender right now. Or Keon Ellis might get to those negotiations and go, the price went up, or I'm going to go and see what I can get on the open market and just try and get out of here and find a better situation, because I'm not liking the way this, the direction this organization is headed in right now. It'd be hard to blame Keon Ellis if he felt that way. But now is also the time of year where you're going to start to see all these trades coming out. And ESPN put out a crazy 5-team trade today that has Trae Young coming to the Sacramento Kings. Go and look up the trade yourselves. I'll give you a little homework assignment. Look up the trade yourselves, think it over, and prepare to tell me why you are for or against that trade. Because on the next episode of Locked On Kings, I'll do an episode tomorrow, either tomorrow or Saturday, hopefully tomorrow. I'm going to do an episode where I'll share with you why I'm actually for this trade that ESPN put together. I'm for the Kings going out and trading for Trae Young, but for not the reason that I think most people would expect. And you might end up, by looking at this trade, have the same takeaway that I have when thinking about this trade and why it would make sense or be the best case scenario for the Kings with this deal. So go and check that out. All you have to do is go on ESPN or just Google ESPN 5-team trade. It'll come up right away. It has to do with, like, Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is part of the trade. Jonathan Kuminga is part of the trade. But go and look it up. You'll find it. It's a really interesting trade. Prepare your thoughts and get ready to share them with me, and let's talk about it on the next episode of Locked On Kings. Until then, I really appreciate your support. Those of you who I got to meet, a handful of you at the Golden One Center tonight. Shout out to Kings fans who continue to come out and support this product with how bad it is. You guys are the best fans in the world and deserve so much better. And yes, I heard the few of you. There were a few of you that loudly were chanting "sell the team," and I promise you that doesn't fall on deaf ears. But I appreciate you all so much. Can't wait to have you join me on the next episode of Locked On Kings. Until then, my name is Matt George. You've been listening to the Locked On Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.